Okay, guys, and it's about noon, so it's after class and everything else. And I'm like, well, I really wanted to continue our little project we got here, but the thing is, we need a pooling management thing where we can pool objects so that we don't like clutter up our game too much with bullets and memory allocations and other types of items. So what I've done is basically made us an object pooler. Now this is the script for it, our bullets. Not much has changed except on enable, every single time this game object is enabled, like we discussed in the previous video, every time this goes on, off, on, off, on, off, the game object is set active, okay? It will do this very thing, and it's fix my bullet after 2 seconds. This is how long this is going to stick around. And in the function that I have is just to set active equals false, okay? Because we already in the update translate into a certain direction and stuff like that, and we can change this to whatever we need our bullet to do. Okay, this isn't really a big deal for this, but we need a instantiation code. Now, in our pooling class, yeah, I know it's went a little crazy when it comes to other stuff. We don't probably, yeah, we do. We set up a reference so we can get it. And in start, we make the object pool equal this so that static reference can work. And then in keys, we initiate a new dictionary of spawn system, and the key is the game object itself. Okay? So we have a dictionary of everything. Now in our spawn code right here, which is pretty much an instantiation, but our version of instantiate, we put game object, okay, what the spawn, the location, and the rotation, okay, which we also need another value right here for growing, probably, if we wanted to grow the pool bigger or smaller, because by default it's on. Now if it does not contain the key for the object pooler, okay, this game object is not in the dictionary whatsoever, it will instantiate a copy of object pooler and add it to the world object right here. It'll add it so we can see it, okay? We can visually see it. All right, and this doesn't have to happen, but for heaven's sakes, I want to see, because you guys need to see if it works, right? So after we do that, we add the key from our little temp right here, and we add it in. But we use the spawn as the reference key. Okay? Very easy to think. And then in our temp, which is this, we go pool object. This is the object the pooler is going to instantiate a list and populate it with this object. Okay? The game object that we want to spawn with our pooler. And then we call the start. Okay? And after all this is done, we get the game, we type out a reference thing, and then we'll equal whatever we get from the object pooler. So after we do all the searches, it's inactive and all that, it will give us a copy of the game object. So we're just basically going, hey, pooler, what object is disabled that I can use? And it equals this value. And then we put it in the positions that we want, and then we set it active so that it can do the behavior, whatever the bullet script behavior is, it will do it. Okay? Very minimalistic. I mean, it's I mean, look, spawn code, pretty easy, and we're instantiating it into a dictionary. It's a static reference, so let's look at how we actually spawn our bullets. See, we have this game object that we're probably going to have somewhere like, hey, this is the bullets that we use, right? Which I can see that in the tower class. Now, in the start, we just have an invoking thing, but this could be our firing code for any firing code. Well, how we spawn something now for the object pooled stuff is we go pooler.pool, which gives us our reference to the pooler, okay, a reference to the pooling script, this one right here, in the active scene, and then we call spawn, and we pass it the game object, and the transform, the location that we want to spawn, which I just put it this for just purposes, but this can be a vector 3 of any type, and then we can also pass it the quaternion. This is all you need to spawn an object from a pooler. That's it. Now for the spawning system itself, the one that does all the magic and behind, okay? I have this private list, which I serialize so we can see it in the inspector, okay? And it is a mono behavior, so, you know, you don't have to worry about, you know, hey, I can't add it into the scene, blah, blah, blah. Now, because it's a mono behavior, it will have its own. Wait, do I actually need to start? I should probably call this a different thing. Okay, because this actually runs twice now that I think about it. So, in our start function, we will go, hey, pooled object equals new list of game objects. Okay, we instantiate the list here. Okay, so that way it never becomes null when we do this. Okay, and we could do other checks down here. Now, the game object temp, we make a temporary variable for a game object, and when we instantiate it. The reason why we do this is so that we can add it to the list. We just can't go, hey, instantiate dot add blah blah blah. It doesn't work. It's a big no-no. You have to cache the value first, so you can basically have a pointer, okay? And then we add it. That's our start function. That's really easy, just like anything else that we've ever done. Now this is a public, not a void. That is very important, and we use game object, okay? This is a game object. Instead of like public void, and then you build your function, you put public game object. And we get the bool, get the pooled object, you know, the pool thing that we spawn, and we do bool in biggie. So basically, let's make this a little bigger. We're telling the pool, hey, I can pass this in the in-pooler, get pooled, which is probably from our dictionary class. Yes? Dictionary class. Actually, ooh, right here. When we cache the value and we set all the stuff up, I default it to true, but we can easily like not even have this code. But I'm like, I really don't like other. I didn't want it to be all messy and stuff. See, that's one reason why I'm like, I need another value right here. So that way I can spawn stuff. Okay. And, well, okay. So, spawn system. So, if this right here doesn't return a pooled object, it will go down here. So when we return something, it will basically say, hey, return. It'll bail out of this function right here if this returns an inactive object. Okay. But if it doesn't return it, it will do this functionality right here, which we automatically put true. Hey, if we need another one, spawn it, add it to the list, set it to false, because our objects by default are true, they're active, so you don't want that. And then we will return this variable instead. And if none of this works, we'll return null, and you will not have anything, which we should probably in our instantiation code somewhere have a check somewhere where if it returns null, like I could easily see bullets or something like that being a problem, because we may not want this to grow automatically. So in our spawning script, we would do something like this. Oh, no, not in our spawning script. We would do it in our pooler. It would be something like this. If the prefab that we have, well, we could do something like this. And now let's just make it explicit. Null. We do this functionality instead. We return. We return. We bail out of this entire thing, and it could happen. I mean, with several objects being around, maybe the instantiation hasn't happened that specific frame, or vice versa, or a little bit of lag, like, oh, your game just paused or something. It could happen. So we'll just return out of this if it's null. And that will keep us from having an error from this part right here, which I guess is fine. And we could always do, like, delete this and make it, hey, if true, we do this. If false, we do this. But I'm like explicitly going null to return and bail out of this so that it can't do anything. Because it could happen, I guess. A little fail-safe wouldn't hurt our program. Especially if you're in mobile and everything. So now we have basically a pool manager. Okay? It's got all the variables. It has everything that we need. So I've got this basic script with a spear. Okay? And all this will do is we'll delete the camera, not delete the camera, but disable the camera so that it doesn't do all that funky stuff. And we will just look in the scene at the objects being pulled. Now, I'll start it, and we get pulled objects. At where? Okay, so we have pulled objects here, and they're just going up. That's what we wanted. Now, it added it, but look, 21 bullets. That's all that's needed. And this is running every single 1 second or so. So, it never instantiates more bullets than it needs. There's always going to be some inactive ones. And it's just setting them active, position, and that's basically our pooler. Okay, and it's got its fab. So, like I said, it's very, very easy, and because we set it up this way, it's so generic that any object that we want to have pulled, we can just call this function right here, anywhere in the project. So if I wanted to take this code and go, hey, guess what? Let's put this in our tower. Targeting and fire. Okay, we don't have a object. Okay, but that's fine. We can fix that by going up here and stuff, which I'm not going to do in this video because this was just basically a small one that I wanted to make for just object pooling itself, because this fits so many other games than just a tower defense game like we're doing. This fits a first person shooter. This fits anything that you need a spawn a huge amount of objects for. Okay? And because it's so that's the kind of code that I like writing. It's so generic it can work for every project that I probably work with. So, you know, and the bullet fixing thing, this is so generic that we can have any one of it. It doesn't have to be in this script. You can have 10 different scripts, okay, that fix anything that you have to fix for bullets, okay? So if you just have rigid body bullets that just destroy before, then just do your fixing code right here, like anything that you need. You just write code to fix the bullet. That's it. It doesn't care about anything else. It's a script by itself. So don't worry if this looks like something that you don't have to use this for every single one. Okay? You don't. You don't have to use any of this code if you want. You don't want to, but you do have to set it false so that the pooler knows, hey, this is inactive. I can reuse this now. That's the only obligation that you have to make. Okay, so it's really simple, and this is really generic. So yeah, so like I said, it's pretty good. I like it how it turned out, and you know, if this doesn't suit your fancy for instantiating a new puller and stuff, you could always make some other custom code. But having a dictionary for the game objects is going to be really small because you might only have 10 different objects. And a dictionary of 10 different objects is, come on, it's really simple to work with. And when you use a dictionary, you can use cool things like, hey, the key is the game object. So there you go. But yeah. That's pretty much the code and stuff, and it's so generic that you could easily like make your own modifications. So I'm gonna cut this out and do some work and stuff, because you know we got to do our clothes and all that real life stuff. So you know, like, hit subscribe, follow, do whatever you need to for the video. You know, for support reasons. That way more people can know that, hey, this script exists. So, hey, maybe we need something like that in our game. So, you know, because, I mean, I could put this script in like 5 different games that I can think of right now for us. So, peace and take care.